All right, I'm recording so we can send it to any stragglers who didn't make it. So let me just jump right in. And again, anyone who's on the call, it's a mastermind call, right? As opposed to a webinar. So any question, commentary that you have, feel free to unmute, jump right in and ask. But Kevin, thanks for joining this, the first of a series of Mastermind. And Kevin is, I'll just introduce you briefly and then let you kind of take it from there. But Kevin runs his own real estate firm. You started it fairly recently. I'd love to know when. Homegrown real estate, and have several agents. You also do property management. You also own several rental properties. And so why don't you take it from here and just kind of introduce yourself and talk about the various facets of the business that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So Jim and I met actually on the golf course, a couple months ago.
That's true.
And
good place to meet.
Yeah, I play with a group from church called the Club and Brothers, and Jim joined us, so that was cool. So my background is in supply chain transportation, believe it or not. I did that for about 12 years and worked for JCPenney for many of those years. I spent some time in Atlanta, a little time in California, Dallas, just doing different things for those guys, doing supply chain work. And in California, I bought a foreclosure around 2009, kept it for 4 years, rented it out. When I moved to Dallas, sold it, made $100,000 on it. So then I bought a foreclosure in Dallas when I lived there, fixed it up, lived there about 4 years as well, sold it, made about $100,000. So I was like, well, shoot, there's something to this real estate thing, even though I'm in transportation. So I was like, maybe I need to do some more real estate. So my last assignment was here in Charleston, working for a company doing their transportation work. So I figured I'd buy a rental property or two. So I closed on a townhome and a single family home, and I got laid off. So in the corporate world, you're just a number. So it was the second time I had gotten laid off, and I knew that there was money to be made in real estate, and I already had 2 rental properties. So the plan was just to get my real estate license and do it on the side. So I started looking for jobs in transportation, couldn't really find anything that paid me what I wanted to make. So I was like, well, I'll just start selling real estate until I find that job. And I quickly found that real estate surpassed my salary of 10 years in supply chain with a master's degree. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't know why I spent all that time doing that when I could have went straight to real estate. So I got into real estate full time about 6 years ago as a solo agent, just buying and selling. I did a few deals myself. As typical, I started kind of slow. I think the first year, I did 3 million. And I just kept basically doubling every year I did real estate. And I surpassed my previous salary in 2 years. And then I doubled it after 3 years and almost quadrupled it after 4 years. So I was like, okay, well, it sounds like real estate's where I want to be. And I just stopped looking for supply chain jobs and kind of just gave up that career. And I've since, like Jim said, I've got my own brokerage now. We've got about 8 agents. I also do property management work. So right now I've got 36 properties that I manage, of which 22 are mine that I own as long-term rentals, no short-term rentals. And then I also got into flipping houses, because just in real estate, as you do deals and you market and people call and you identify needs, I was like, well, shoot, somebody called me one day and needed to sell a house, and they just wanted to get out of it. So it was my first flip. So I started flipping 5 or 6 houses a year. So the beauty about real estate is there's always different avenues that you can take to make money. So like right now, yeah, times are a little slow. Buyers are a little skittish. So my sales are down, but my rental properties are going very strong. So I've got all my rental rates up. You can't, once you post a rental property, it's gone within hours of when you post it, for more than you ever thought you could have got for that unit. And then, believe it or not, the flips are kind of strong right now too. So I'm flipping a house right now. So even though I'm not doing a lot of business in buying and selling, the rental side and the property management sides is still going pretty strong. So yeah,
that is impressive. And it's also funny that almost no one wakes up one morning out of high school or college and it's like, I want to be a real estate agent. Same with mortgage, by the way. We all kind of stumble into it, but it is amazing how real estate can, yeah, it's the millionaire maker, but you kind of have to do all facets, right? I agree. I think. So you've got homegrown real estate, you've got 8 agents on your team. What was your volume like last year or this year? Just curious.
So last year was my last year as pretty much a solo agent. I started the company around May of last year. So last year I was just buying and selling real estate most of the year, and I did right about 10 million last year in sales.
Okay.
This year the goal was a little lower because I was shifting gears a little bit, shifting some of my marketing budget to attracting real estate agents versus buyers and sellers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I hope to end the year. I'll be happy if I ended around 9, something like that.
Okay. Yep.
But I've also transitioned to, my goal is to be a non-compete broker. So I give a lot of my stuff away to my agents. So that also, decreased my sales volume as well. As a company, we hope to do about 15 million this year.
Okay. So newer agents, it sounds like, but you're helping them, coaching them up to become the producers that whatever their goals are, right? And you have 22 properties.
22 doors, 13 mortgages. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And so I'm just curious because my thinking all through this career so far has been real estate agents, we don't have, I say we, same with mortgage, right? We don't have a pension in this business. You probably would have if you continued in logistics and all that, but we don't. So we have to kind of create our own. And sure, we've got IRAs, 401ks and all that, but we know and live and breathe real estate. How would you encourage everyone to kind of dip their toe into both sides, assuming that they haven't already? And maybe everyone on this call owns several rental properties already, but I'm curious as to how you would encourage people to balance selling and keeping their goals there with also picking up and managing their real estate portfolio.
Sure. So I do have what's called a solo 401k plan, but I don't like putting my money somewhere where I can't access it. So my solo 401k allows me to borrow money against the funds in there for investing purposes. So I've actually used my 401k money to flip real estate before. So I would encourage you to go that route and go with a product that allows you to use your money now. I don't put a lot into that because I'm about to hit 40. So, I've got another 25 years before I can access that money without being penalized on it. And if I run across a deal, I want to be able to do the deal. So I keep my money in things that I can access, and real estate's one of them. It's a little more tricky to buy real estate and access your funds, but through cash out refinances, things like that. Most of my cash that I have goes into real estate for that reason, just because I can access it when I need it, and it makes me money as it's sitting there. So it's working.
Yeah, the cash flow is important. I find I don't know, for me, it's really nice to see a 401k grow. Believe me, it is nice. But there's something about just the cash flow that gives just confidence, I would say is probably the right word. Gives a lot of confidence that, if you have, well, we were just saying, and I think Amy was mentioning it earlier, it's kind of a tougher transitioning market right now. If you have that market, you're not freaked out. You're like, well, I got this other cash flow from the properties, and it gives us, I find it gives us sort of confidence to approach the market and adapt to a market without kind of freaking out.
Yeah, my wife and I was talking earlier today, and I was looking at our personal financial statements and our rental properties, and looking at, if we didn't sell one house next year, we would be fine. I mean, we could technically retire if we wanted to. I mean, that's not the lifestyle I want to retire in, but if we had to, we could retire just off of our rental income today. And that's only after 6 years of investing in real estate.
Yeah.
So that's what attracted me was, my wife's quit her job. She was a nurse practitioner, making 6 figures. But now that we have I call it passive income. I manage the properties as a property manager. So not completely passive, but, she quit her job and she's helping me with the company. And we have income coming in every month, regardless if we have a client to sell or buy a house this month. So that's very comforting for us to have that cash coming in.
Yeah, and with 22 doors, you probably don't worry much if there's a vacancy in 1 or 2 because there's still, 20 or so that are cash flowing.
Right. And in this market, the rents are so high. Like I've got properties that started out when I bought them 4 years ago at 800 and now they're at 1,300 a month. So, I mean, it cash flowed a few $100s a month then, but now it's cash flowing $600 or $700 a month and double in equity.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, no, that's the beautiful thing. And I think, I can't remember if Casey or Amy said this earlier. It's hard to find with rates where they are. I'd love your comment on this. It's hard to find properties that cash flow well upon acquisition right now. And I agree, it is, but rents are set to just keep going up because we have a lack of housing. I mean, this is where the nerdy side of me comes in. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 less housing units coming to market than the demand, right? In other words, demand outstrips supply by about 500,000 units nationwide or so. And so that just bodes well for rents to keep on going up.
I mean, a lot, when I buy them, I want them to cash flow day one. But it doesn't have to be a lot. It kind of depends on your cash position as well. Like if you've got a little cash in the bank and you're just sitting on it, if I can break even on a rental, I'll probably buy it just as in a future appreciation play, rent appreciation play. So it just kind of depends on your cash position, whether you want to take on a low cash flowing property at that moment. But, most of my properties I find off market because once they hit the market, they're already overpriced anyway. So I found that
coming from a real estate broker.
Yeah, off market is about, for me, for the returns I expect, about the only way to go, especially today.
Yep. Yeah, we're doing that right now. I just mailed out almost 800 letters to a specific targeted list to look for off-market properties for that same reason. And yeah, we're doing exactly the same thing. So let's shift to real estate sales just for a minute, because I know you're building a team and you've got several real estate agents on your team now. And when I say a team, for anyone who just joined, again, Kevin's a real estate broker. He's owns his own brokerage, and the team means agents coming on with him. But you're coaching those agents up very, very well to meet their own production goals. What are you telling them right now in this market with the shift?
So my brokerage is a transaction fee based brokerage. It's not like the big box brokerages where we have training classes and trainers, and we don't have a brick and mortar for training. So our training is more a one-on-one. And, for me, when I got into real estate, my goal was to have 100% of my business come from referrals in 5 years. That was from day one. Actually, I think my goal was 3 years, but I've realized that wasn't very realistic. So about 5 years, which is where I'm at today, I don't do any marketing for sales. It's all referral based. So that's what I've tried to get my folks to do, is work on that referral based business and grow their sphere of influence. I spent a lot of money on like Zillow and, some of the traditional marketing avenues, and it got me my clients. But once I got them, I kept them. So that's why I was able to do 100% referral based in just a few years. So I kind of focus more on sphere of influence and then following up on your clients that you do have now, versus spending a lot of money on things like Zillow and all the other avenues out there. But I do a lot of Facebook. You know, I teach how to do Facebook ads, which do pretty well, and you get leads for between $3 to $5 a lead. And it's all about the follow up and building rapport. So that's kind of what I like to do. So that's what I like to kind of teach my folks to do as well.
The follow-up is, I find with, especially with, maybe I shouldn't categorize it this way, but with the lesser producing agents, I find that follow-up is the thing that's lacking the most. If you just put some time, like 2 hours every single morning to continually follow up, everything would transform because everyone has enough leads, or you can get enough leads, you know. But I think it's the follow-up and creating the relationship. It's a relationship business.
I mean,
You seem to be very good at that.
Yeah, every deal I've done, you know, I've done a few first-time home buyers, but every deal I've done has not been a first-time home buyer. And my first question is, you know, why aren't you using the agent that helped you last time? And it's usually always the exact same answer. It's, well, I haven't heard from them since the day we closed on the house. And that's just the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's so easy to follow up with your client, especially if if you actually care about them and build those relationships. It's just kind of second nature.
Yeah.
But if you just, close the deal and move on, man, you're leaving so much money on the table. And you know what, I think 80% of the folks, will use the first agent they talk to. And if you stay in touch with them the whole time, they're just going to call you. So a lot of folks don't do that. And you have to have a process for it. If you think you're smart enough and good enough to remember, you're not. I mean, maybe right when you get started, maybe you are, but once you get 30, 40, 50, 60 clients, you can't remember it. So you have to have a CRM and a process, or else you're just not going to do it. And I think that's the part most people fail at, is they think that they can remember to do these things. And then a year goes by and they're like, oh shoot, I haven't even talked to, Joe Smith in over a year now. And you call him and then he's already sold his house. So it's just about the process that you set in place for the follow-up, which is the most important for me in my business in sales.
So I have, for example, I totally agree with everything that you just said. And whether it's on the real estate side or the mortgage side, it's the same, because my goal is always to also help follow up so that we get more referrals, and those referrals go right back to you. Like if you sent a buyer to me, Kevin, or if Casey sends a buyer to me and I get a referral 6 months down the road, well, that's my way of giving back and helping build a business. But I'm not smart enough to even think that I could do that and organize myself in any other way. So I have theme days, right? So like every Tuesday we call everyone involved in the transaction and give Tuesday updates. But the secret is we're really asking for a referral. And if we do that every single week, a lot of times we end up getting referrals and helping build each other's business that way. Wednesdays, I call past clients, A's and B's this week, C's and D's next week, so that 4 times a year, I've called all the past clients, right? And just touch base. It's an easy thing to do right now because everyone's housing is in the market, in the news, right? And so there's an easy excuse to call. Hey, housing's in the news. What do you got going on? Etc.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake folks make these days are they think they can manage their CRM through an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. I've got a couple of agents that, I keep trying to, I've got a really good CRM that I just love. So I really want everybody to get on it with me because it's so valuable. Like, we're just going to do it in Excel right now to save that $40 a month. Like there's, and a few months will go by and I'll send them a list of all the leads I've given them. And there'll be like 30 leads. I'll be like, tell me, what have you done for these 30 people in the last 2 months that I sent you? And it's usually like, oh, I forgot about that guy. And oh yeah, I called that guy one time. They don't have a CRM and they're just not going to keep up with it. So I think a good CRM and drip campaigns and reminders and tasks and staying on that is probably the most important thing to grow the sales business.
I totally agree with that. And so the CRM can't be this. I thought this would work really well.
Maybe for the first few months.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people that really is kind of their CRM. No, I totally agree with that. And so do you do the same with following up on properties like off-market properties that you have an interest in and the seller has an interest? Do you do the same thing there, or?
So my CRM it's built specifically for real estate, but I use it for my brokerage company. I use it for the flipping company, for the property management company. So you can set campaigns and make tags for anybody and group like people together. So I have a tag for, property management. So I've converted several of my previous clients that I've helped them buy houses to do property management, because part of my drip campaign that I do on my emails is talking about property management. And then once I meet somebody that has rental properties, they go into my CRM with a tag of property management, and they start getting my drips. So yeah, I use my CRM for all of my follow-up, regardless what revenue stream it is, whether it's property management, flipping, sales, whatever.
So I have a question that you may be comfortable answering and you may not. So don't go down the road if you're not. But in, I don't know, 5-year time, and I'm just making up that time frame, what is your goal both on the real estate sales side and on the owning and managing real estate side?
Yeah, no, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. So for the sales side, personally, I want to be at $0. I don't want to sell real estate. I don't want to be a real estate agent. I want to be a business owner. With that said, I want my sales to be 0. However, I want my brokerage sales to be much higher. So in 5 years, I have a 1-year plan. I've got 8 agents now. I want 25 by the end of next year. And I want to add 25 to 40 a year. So in 5 years, I would love to be around 100 agents. Because my model is a low cost transaction fee model. So it's not your traditional brokerage splits and high cap model. So I need volume to make my business successful. So I want to be a non-compete broker by middle to end of next year, to where I'm giving all leads away, doing no real estate sales. And I want to have at least 100 agents in the company. And I want to continue growing the property management division as well. Like I said, right now I have about 36, and it's just at the level where if I hire somebody, I break even. So I want to grow that a little more to where I can hire a property manager and make that a profitable side of the business where I don't have to do that either. So in 5 years, I want to have a full-time property manager, hopefully managing around 100 properties. That's about all a property manager can usually handle. And I want to keep investing. I want to be like you and be in multifamily. And I mean, the onesie, twosie condos, apartments, townhomes are nice, but I would love to sell all 22 properties and roll 1031, all that into a 60-unit apartment complex.
Yeah.
Hire a property manager or an on-site manager, and it'd be true passive income.
What's interesting is the numbers seem to work out at 70 units and above. You can have an on-site property manager and justify it, and everything cash flows very, very well. So just to throw that out there, that's what we found in examining these properties.
Well, that's about so right now in my property management, I'm at 36, and I can't hire someone full-time and break even.
Yeah.
So my calculation is very similar to yours, but mine was going to be closer to around 55 or so before I can hire someone full-time and break even versus doing it myself. So that's kind of my goal, is 55 to 60 is what it was worth to hire someone full-time and pay, a property manager $45,000 a year to manage this.
So I think I love the plan, and I love the multifaceted. It's all real estate related, but it's multifaceted. So the multiple income streams. And it's interesting. I love your goal too, because I've found that there's so many ways to be successful in real estate. Some people want to be the top producer and well-known and just do whatever number a year, 50 million a year with them and their team. And that's an awesome goal and a great goal and very attainable. But others like yourself just want to help others rise. And that's also an awesome goal. I think there's so many ways to make money in real estate. It's just choosing your lane and then focusing, I think is part of it.
Yeah, it's all about what makes you happy. I've got a long story I could share another time, but I used to be the guy that what I had was never good enough. If you make 100K, you want to make 200K, and then you make 200K. Well, now I want to make 400K. If you make 400K, well, now that's not enough. Now I want a million. So that was me. And then recently I've kind of, I guess, found my inner peace where I don't need that. And I found where I'm happy at. And that's what I work towards. I'd rather spend time with my family and my kids. I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, than go out there and work 10-hour days to make $500,000 this year. It's just not that important to me. I'd rather have passive income and make, $150,000 a year, do nothing off my passive income, versus bust my butt all day, every day to make, $1 million or whatever. It's just, that's me. You may be completely different, and that's great, but you just got to find what you want and go for it, and, make a plan and hit it.
There's a lot to be said for peace, like you were saying. So many people get laser focused on one thing, like an economic goal. I want to make $1 million a year. And it's possible in this business, but then other things suffer, right? And your kids grow up and they're like, yeah, dad was never at my game. He was never at my, there's a well-rounded, I love the way you said that, because if someone can find their peace, they're just more successful at everything in life, I find. And I think that's super important. It's almost a mindset issue.
Yeah, I've got rental properties, and some of your investors talk about, being super leveraged and not having any equity in it. And yeah, I could take a lot of equity out of my rentals, but I like the cash flow. I mean, yeah, I'm not making as much as I can make if I did a cash out on all of them and took that money and bought more. But I'm happy where I'm at, and my workload and life balance is pretty balanced now. So why go screw that up to make an extra, $1,000 a month? It's just not worth it to me.
No, I totally agree. And there's, just like I say, a lot to be said for that, for the piece. So why don't we do this? What I'd love to do is open it up. If anyone on the call has any questions for Kevin, or any commentary on the market, on what you're seeing, please unmute and open up and jump in. That's why we do that's why I do this as a meeting and not a webinar. A webinar, it's just passive looking. I'd love if anyone does have any commentary. It's always enriching to get that for all of us.
So I have a question. This is Casey.
Hey, Casey.
Hey guys, thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you made it.
Yes, thank you. So Kevin, okay, first of all, I'm seeing that you are possibly a house divided based on what's going on in your background. So are you a Georgia fan, or are you an Auburn fan?
Unfortunately, I'm on the losing side of this house divided, and I have been for the past, 10 years. I went to Auburn, so I got my undergraduate from Auburn, and my wife went to Georgia.
Okay, so I like you even more, War Eagle, even though I'm on the losing side as well.
Nice.
I went to Auburn for graduate school. My husband is a long time Georgia fan. So he's having a great year. Us, not so much, right?
Yeah, we just have to take it back to what year was it when, they threw that long pass and we tipped it up and scored in the end zone. I just take it back to that year every year for the last 8 years.
I hear you. Okay, so as someone who does not have any type of investment property, so kind of take it back in your brain to when you first bought your first one. Did you take out a mortgage on that? Did you have all cash? For someone who is looking to do this for the very first time, how would you advise those of us to get started?
So for my first deal, I mentioned I had bought some foreclosures along the way and fixed them up, lived them, and sold them. So I had some cash on hand for that. But no, my first one, I just did an FHA loan. I think I put 20% down on it. You have to put 20 to 25% down. At the time, I think the rate that I got was like 5.5% on a single family home. But I found it off market. It needed some work. So I bought it, I think I put $10,000 into it. And then I basically refinanced it and got all my money back out of it. And the numbers still worked because the rates were still pretty low at the time. And I think I paid it was a single family. 3-bed, 1.5 bath in North Charleston. I think I paid $72,000 for it. Ended up putting like 15 in it. And then refinanced and got all my money back out of it. And my mortgage was still like $900 a month, and it rented for $1,100. So it didn't cash flow a lot, but since then, now it's worth closer to $200. And it rents for about $1,500 a month. So I guess my advice would be, I know it's hard to buy something knowing that it's not going to make you much money today, but if you look at history and look at values over time and rents over time, they're always going to go up. So I would say, buy for the future. Every house I've ever flipped, I've probably flipped, I don't know, about 20 houses or so in the last 5 years. I wish I wouldn't have sold a single one of them. I should have kept them all and rented them all out, because now they'd be worth so much more. So I guess I would say, focus a lot less on the now and plan a little more for the future. But as far as the money, if you don't have the 20-25% down, you're going to have to come up with that. But right now, there's a lot of money out there, because deals aren't super easy to find.
Right.
So you got a lot of people with a lot of money out there that is willing to lend it to you. Now, it won't be super cheap, but you can get it for 10% probably pretty easy.
Yeah.
But you just have to move quick, renovate it, and then refinance it to get those guys their money back, so you're not paying their 10% interest. So if you don't have the cash, build some relationships in the investor world. There's lots of different investor meetups where there's lots of money out there. They'll gladly loan it to you. You just got to find those people and if you find the good deal, it's usually easy to find the money. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of finding the deal first. I kind of like finding the money first.
Yes. Thank you.
I totally agree with that. Annette, jump in if you want.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
Hey, I wasn't on the call when it first started. So where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Alabama, a huge town with one flashing yellow light called Hoax Bluff, Alabama.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. And then I've moved all over. I've been in Atlanta and Dallas and San Francisco, and been here. I've been in Charleston for the last 8 years, though.
Okay. All right. That was what I was wondering, is if you were local or if you were in another area, another state. So the properties you bought in the last 5 years have been here in Charleston, Low Country area.
So of my 22, 20 are in Somerville.
Oh, wow.
And I have 2 in North Charleston.
Okay. Well, Somerville's a great market, that's for sure.
I live here. I know people here. Most of my business is here. And like we talked about earlier, when you're in real estate, just things happen. Like people call you and, this is my home. And so things just come up. And it all just happens to come up in Somerville. I didn't really plan it that way, but that's just, when you're in real estate, opportunities just kind of show themselves, and you just got to be ready to jump on them regardless what it is. And that's just how it's happened for me. I haven't really targeted Somerville. It's just how it's happened.
Well,
That's your sphere of influence right now. By the way, there's a lot of times real estate agents have trouble buying buy and hold properties and financing it because, well, you write off all the income, right? You have a lot of expenses and take advantage of it on tax returns. But you can always do, if it's a buy and hold, you can always do what's called a cash flow investor loan, just so you guys know this. And it applies to self-employed people, including ourselves, right? In a cash flow investor loan, there's no employment, no income on the application, on the mortgage application. It's just the cash flow of the property. So you have to have 20% down. You have to have 6 months reserves as well. So, there's assets that we verify, and that's the safety of it, but it's all based on cash flow of the property, based on what it will rent for. It's a good way to get into some properties. Now it's a higher rate. You're probably going to be paying a rate in the 9s, but it's a good way to get into some cash flowing property.
Yeah, and I've done a few commercial loans as well, for like a 20-year AM. So amortize over 20 years. So your cash flow is not as great, but your pay down's a lot faster. So I've used a couple of commercial loans. You also have to put 20-25% down. The rate's a little higher, but they're a little more lenient as far as what you have to show them. I've done a HELOC on my house because all the equity, and I've used that HELOC to buy lots of rental properties. That's my down payment for my rentals, and then I'll refinance and get that money back and stick it back in my HELOC. So if you have a home and have equity in it, a HELOC is a great tool to use to help you get started buying investments.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to jump in? And we'll wrap shortly, but any final questions or comments?
Hey, Kevin, I've got a quick one. Patrick here. So I feel like I think about my position a lot. So I've had my residential real estate for about 1.5 years now. But before that, I did business development for a property management company. So my brain thinks about property management, thinks about residential real estate. So how in the heck do you self-manage 22 doors?
So I actually manage 36 doors.
Okay.
I've got 22 that are mine, and then I've got 14 that are others.
Okay.
It's not easy. That's the part of real estate I guess I like the least, because my cell phone's always on. Yesterday, so 3 nights ago, there was a shootout in the front yard of a property I managed, and there's
not basketball.
No, not a basketball shootout. A high caliber rifle shootout.
Oh gosh.
And there's 16 bullet holes in the property. So I've been dealing with that for the last, 2 days, trying to figure out what happened and how to fix it. And we just put a dang refrigerator in that unit 3 months ago, and one of the bullet holes went straight through the refrigerator and fried it. So now we got to get a new refrigerator. So I would say I need to be more aggressive to find more rental properties so I can hire a property manager, because I do not like this aspect of the company. But again, I'm not ready to hire someone just to break even.
Right.
But I'm doing it as a short-term thing with a long-term goal in mind. For like right now, if I hired somebody, basically I'd have my properties managed for free. And I just can't stomach that. So I do it myself, and I make, $1,500 a month off my property management, and I manage my own property. So the income makes it worth it for me to deal with that. But that's definitely something I want to get off my plate eventually. I probably spend, as long as I don't have a lot of vacancies, maybe 8 to 10 hours a week on those 36 properties. So it's not a ton of time, but it's just the fact that you're always on call is what I don't like about it.
Yeah. How does that work with things like insurance? Because of course we all have E&O, but things are more likely to go bad in the rental world than the real estate world. Do you pay a higher insurance because you're involved in managing your brokerages?
So I guess the question is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I have a commercial insurance agent that I use, and I basically lay out my business and say, okay, I expect to sell this much. I've got this many agents. I manage this many properties. What do I need? And so they kind of tell me, I trust my agent. They tell me what I need. But I have my umbrella policies for the company to make sure I'm covered. My policy right now for my brokerage company, which right now I'm only covered up to like 50 million in sales a year, because I'm still kind of small. And with the property management, I think my policy is only like 2,700 a year.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Patrick,
So-
did you come to some investor meetups with Danny Randazzo a while back?
I know some of the Maven guys. Do you mean?
Okay. There was somebody named Patrick that used to come to the multifamily investor meetup with Danny Randazzo down at 60 Bull Cafe in Charleston. I thought it was you.
Yeah, I used to go there. I know Dan Rivers and all those.
Yeah.
Actually, Dan Rivers and I both grew up in Mass, and I think you and I actually texted when I first got my my license. So we've got some old convos from back in the day.
Yeah. Are you with Maven?
No, I'm actually with Teamwork Realty.
Okay, gotcha.
So
That's awesome. So, Kevin, I would throw out a potential challenge for you. And that would be, it might be worth your while to hire someone just to break even on property management. And the reasoning behind that is you would have 8 to 10 hours a week to focus on either developing the team or other things that will or just bringing in more properties to manage. and that. In other words, I think that person would pay for themselves very, very quickly. Kind of like
I-
buying a rental property and breaking even in the
Yeah.
first year and then growing it.
Completely agree. And full disclosure, I did hire someone to do this for me last year, and they did it for about 4 months, and it was a disaster. So I ended up letting her go, and I took it back, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. But it kind of hurt me. But you're right. I definitely need to let it go, because it is inhibiting my ability to grow other parts of the business up. You're right. It's just my baby. It's been my property for so long. I don't
It's
know.
hard to let go. You can do it
Yeah.
better than anyone else.
Hey, are you guys open to a 60-second funny story?
Go
Yes.
for it.
All right. So I manage a couple of properties downtown. I kind of backed up into it. Like a friend gave it to me and I was like, all right, I guess whatever. They were really quiet, low maintenance tenants. And I went away for the weekend, not really thinking that I need to make plans if something happens, because nothing ever happens. And me and my dad are in Chicago. We just got back from Wrigley Field. It's 10 o'clock. So like 11 o'clock in Charleston. And the tenant calls me and says that the keypad, the digital keypad, the batteries have just died. And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm in Chicago. I mean, I guess grab a hotel tonight. I'll reimburse you. I never thought to give him a physical key because there wasn't one. And he's like, actually, I have I'm leaving, for Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, whatever holiday it was back then. I'm leaving in like 6 hours or something like that. I've got to go in and get my bags. And I was like, shoot. So I actually said, all right, go to my house. I'll call my neighbor. I'll have him put the emergency key under my welcome mat. And so, yeah, you're always on call with those properties. And thankfully the guy wasn't too ticked, and I gave him a little extra money for the headache, but properties, man, their rentals will be sneaky.
They're fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. On call 24/7. So Kevin, thanks for your time. I know you're feeling under the weather, and thanks for jumping on anyway. If anyone wants to talk further, meet, have coffee, network, are you open to that?
Absolutely not today, or probably tomorrow, because I feel pretty rough today. Yeah, I mean, I love to meet with people and have coffee, and I'm at Coastal Coffee almost every other day meeting with somebody. So feel free to reach out. My info's on the MLS. Again, my name is Kevin Douglas. My number's on there. Love to have lunch or coffee or chat real estate.
Awesome. Thanks for being generous with your time like that, because I know you got a lot going on and a lot of successful things going on. Thanks everyone for joining. And if one plug for this further mastermind, if there's a topic you would like to see explored, just reach out. Let me know what that is, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jim.
much, you
Thanks,
guys.
Jim.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye now.
You.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Jim. Bye,
Okay,
everybody.
bye-bye.